afternoon. We are continuing our lessons on center or measures of center. So we've been talking about mean, median, mode, and range, which is really just a data number, but fits in well. And now I want to talk about another thing that really affects measures of center quite a bit, and it's called an outlier. And if that word sounds like outlaw to you, it's not a bad way to think of it. It's something that's different than the most, okay? So we want to take a look at what this looks like when we have a really different piece and we're comparing measures of center. So an outlier is a data value, and I want you to write this down, please, that is much larger or much smaller than the other values. Okay. So one of the things you'll hear me use in class is the outlier is the weirdo. What are we going to do with the weirdo? Okay. So we're going to find the mean, the median, and the mode of this data set and look at it with an outlier and without. Okay. So first we have to identify the outlier. Which of these numbers is weird? 14, 17, 16, 11, 15, 50, 17, 12, 10. Well, what's 50 doing there? So I like to think of these in as ages of people sometimes. Okay, so we're talking about a pool party at my house, and there's only one grown-up supervising. There's some teenagers, there's some almost teenagers, but only one adult. That would be the outlier, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do the addition, 14 plus 17 plus 16 plus 11, with the outlier in it. This is going to include the 50. Okay, so with. And again, we are using calculators for speed efficiency. I know you can add. So 14 plus 17 plus 16 plus 11 plus 15 plus 50 plus 17 plus 12 plus 10. Okay. And I get 162, and there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 pieces of data. So I'm going to divide that by 9, and I get 18. So that's with the outlier in it. Without, well, if I added up all the numbers except 50, I'd get 112. If I have one less piece of data, that's 8. Okay. And now it's 14. Okay. Now, getting an extra piece of paper here, I also want to show the other measures of center. So we're going to look at those. Okay. So the mean with the outlier is 18. The mean without the outlier is 14. Now, let's look at this data as far as median and mode. Okay, so I'm just going to order these numbers least to greatest. That's all that I'm doing. So I have a piece of paper right here. It's going to kind of go off the screen for a minute. I'll fold it down. Okay, and all I'm doing is ordering them least to greatest. So 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, okay, 14, 15, 16, 2 17s, and the 50. And we know that there are 9 pieces of data. So I'm just going to look at the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the middle of the data. Okay? And the mode is right here. So I have a median and a mode. If I wrote that list again, but didn't put the outlier in, I have the same mode. That didn't change. But now I only have 8 pieces of data. So my median is going to be halfway between 14 and 15, which is 14.5. Okay. So my median with the outlier, 15. My median without the outlier, 14 and a half. My mode, 17 both times. Okay, so a little practice with finding mean, median, and mode. But now let's consider what that outlier did to it. Which measure of center was most affected? Well, which of these has the biggest change? The mean. It changed by 4. How is the range affected? Well, the range went from 50 minus 10 to 17 minus 10. Okay. So the range changed by 33 numbers. Okay. Or 40 to, oh, I'm sorry. Is there a 7 in there? Maybe I was mistaken. No, from 40 to 7. Yeah, for the range. Okay. So as you can see, an outlier doesn't really affect the mode. It doesn't affect the median a lot. Median is a great measure of center choice when we have an outlier. The mean, the average, is affected quite a bit by an outlier. Think of that. You're cruising along, you have a B in your class, and all of a sudden you get a 0 on something important. And your grade goes boom. Because that 0 is an outlier. You don't normally get 0s. So it made a big change. All right. So when we want to choose the best piece of data, okay, the mean is the best. It's the most accurate when there are no outliers. The median is the best choice when there are outliers or the middle of the data has no big gaps. And I'll demonstrate that in a minute. The mode is the best measure of center when the data has many repeated values. Okay? So let's think about this logically. Okay. Logically, if there's nothing weird, if you're very consistent, mean is incredibly accurate. And we use it for all kinds of statistics. The median is the best choice if there's an outlier, like the example above. If you showed up at my pool party and you said, well, wow, the average person there was 18 years old, and there's actually no one there that's 18 years old, there's a bunch of teenagers and one old person, then that's not a very accurate piece of data. Okay? Where if I said the average was 14, that's much more truthful. Okay? The median, notice how it hardly changes with the outlier. So the median can be much more true when you have a weird number. But this idea of gaps, let's say I go out to dinner. Okay, several of my coworkers have small children, you know that. And we go out to dinner and there are people at the table who are 50 and 52 and 42 and 39. And then there's a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. If I found the average of that, it's going to tell me that the average person at that dinner table is like in their 20s. There are no people in their 20s. It's adults and a bunch of kids. So if there's a big gap, the median is not a good choice because it's going to give you a weird number. If there's a big gap, you're going to want to use the mean or maybe a mode. It's just a weird piece of data when there's a big gap. Okay? And then mode is really good when you have many repeated values because think about if you walked in our classroom. You have maybe 2 ages represented except the teacher. Well, so then you could say, oh yeah, most of those people are 11 or most of those people are 13 and leave the teacher out of it because it's not an accurate statement. So what we're looking for when we're choosing the best center is how do I make the most accurate statement? Okay. So I want to look at these couple examples. And I'm going to give you information. Okay. And then talk about the choices. First, I'm just going to put these in order. Now, 22 is an outlier. But if I did these least to greatest, I'd have 22. And then my next one is 42, 44, 45, 48, 54, 56, and 60. Okay. And because I identified an outlier, I'm thinking I'm going to use the median. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my median's right here, halfway between 45 and 48. Well, that's 46.5. Okay, and I chose the median because it has an outlier. Now, much more often in class, I'm going to have you do the mean, the median, and the mode, and then pick. Or one group will do the mean, one group will do the median, one group will do the mode, and we'll discuss it. Because I really want you looking at why. But here's another example. Fuel efficiency per miles per gallon in a group of vehicles. So I go car shopping, and I'm looking at some sedans. I looked at an Audi and a Toyota and a Honda and a Hyundai. And one of them got 19.7 miles per gallon. One got 18.9, 21.3, 25.6. There are some differences, but it's not a ridiculous range. There's nothing weird standing out here. So I'm probably going to use the mean because I have no outliers. And if I add up all those numbers, I get 133.8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the numbers. So I'm going to divide by 6. So my mean is 22.3 miles per gallon. So if I went home and I was like, hey, I was looking at cars and it looks like the average miles per gallon I can expect to get in this kind of car is around 22. That's an accurate statement. I could do better, I could do worse, but it's really nice and accurate. Okay? You have another page here. We will be working on this more in class. What I want you to do, okay, is just try this one, number 4. Okay? Find all 3 items and come back to class with that information so that we can say, oh, look, we tried this. Okay? So if you could take a look at number 4 and don't just pick the best one, but be able to actually compare them. Know what the mean, the median, and the mode are for that data set. Okay? And then we'll work on the rest of this in class. I'm proud of you. Have a really good day and see you soon.